Hello everyone and welcome back. It's Zakizio here, and today I'll be digging into my backlog and reacting to The Wrath of Kharn by William King, a Warhammer 40K story by A Vox in the Void. I highly recommend that you check out A Vox in the Void's channel. You should definitely subscribe to them and listen to their content. I've already reacted to a few videos by them before. And as always, there'll be a link to the original video in the description box below. But without further ado, let's listen to this story about Kharn the Betrayer. Kharn, a very swell guy.
Blood for the Blood God!
Bellowed Kharn the Betrayer, charging forward, through the hail of bolter fire, towards the Temple of Superlative Indulgence.
The Temple of Superlative Indulgence. Some of the names that are given to things in the 40K universe, like ships, buildings, like so on. And some of those names I find really amusing because of how pretentious some of them sound.
Bolter shells ricocheting off his breastplate did not even slow him down. The Chaos Space Marine smiled to himself. The ancient ceramite of his armor had protected him for over 10,000 years. He felt certain it would not let him down today. All around him, warriors fell, clutching their wounds, crying in pain and fear. More souls offered up on the altar of battle to the Supreme Lord of Carnage, Kharn thought, and grinned maniacally.
Yep, because Khorne does not care from whence the blood flows, only that it does.
Surely the Blood God would be pleased this day. Ahead of him, Kharn saw one of his fellow berserkers fall, his body riddled with shells, his armor cracked and melted by plasma fire. The berserker howled with rage and frustration, knowing that he was not going to be in at the kill, that he would give Khorne no more offerings on this or any other day. In frustration, the dying warrior set his chainsaw to maximum power and took off his head with one swift stroke. His blood rose in a red fountain to slake Khorne's thirst. As he passed, Kharn kicked the fallen warrior.
To me it says something that those berserkers, well, it's kind of to be expected in a way, but the fact that they're in that state of mind in where it's like, yeah, they're like, this guy's about to die, and it's not the fact that he's about to die that bothers him. It's the fact that he's not going to be able to, well, to keep killing things in the name of Khorne.
Warrior's head,
Which, gotta say, that is some dedication.
sending it flying over the defender's parapet. At least this way his fallen comrade would witness Kharn slaughter the Slanesh worshippers in the few delicious moments before he died. Under the...
Oh, wait, Slanesh worshippers. Does this take place when there was that battle between, was it again? Actually, no, it's been 10,000 years. It couldn't be the one I was thinking of, where Kharn slaughtered all those Emperor's children.
Circumstances, it was the least reward Kharn could grant such a devout warrior. The betrayer leapt over a pile of corpses, snapping off a shot with his plasma pistol. One of the Slanesh cultists fell, clutching the ruins of his melted face. Gorechild, Kharn's demonic axe howled in his hands. Kharn brandished it above his head and bellowed his challenge to the sick yellow sky of the demon world.
Yeah, wasn't Gorechild previously Angron's axe? I don't remember how Kharn got it, though. Still, just yet cultist clutching his melting face. He's after getting hit with plasma, which, yeah, not a fun way to go. Although I have heard that given how hot plasma is, that like IRL, if someone say shot plasma at you and it didn't, lose its heat and diffuse into the air, that the sheer amount of heat would fry you even before it actually made contact with you.
Skulls for the Skull Throne!
KHARN howled. On every side, frothing berserkers echoed his cry. More shells whined all around him. He ignored them the way he would ignore the buzz of annoying insects. More of his fellows fell, but KHARN stood untouched, secure in the blessing of the Blood God, knowing that it would not be his turn today. All was going according to plan. A tide of KHARN's warriors.
You know, that's also one of the things about KHARN, that it's very straightforward serving KHARN. You kill things, so KHARN makes you better at killing more things, so you can keep killing things, and then he can keep making you better at killing things. It just kind of keeps going in that cycle.
Warriors flowed across the bomb-cratered plains towards the towering redoubt of the Slanesh worshippers. Support fire from the Chaos Titan artillery had reduced most of the walls around the ancient temple complex to just so much rubble. The disgusting murals painted in fluorescent colors had been reduced to atoms. The obscene minarets that crowned the towers had been blasted into well-deserved oblivion. Lewd statues lay like colossal, limbless corpses, gazing at the sky with blank marble eyes. Even as KHARN watched, missiles blazed down from the sky and smashed another section of the defensive wall to blood-covered fragments.
So they're well and truly leveling this place.
Huge clouds of dust billowed. The ground shook. The explosions rumbled like distant thunder. Sick joy bubbled through KHARN's veins at the prospect of imminent violence. This was what he lived for. These moments of action where he could once again prove his superiority to all other warriors in the service of his exalted lord.
KHARN does not simply wake up and choose violence. And KHARN his state of being is violence.
In all his 10,000-year existence, KHARN had found no joy to touch the joy of battle. No lust greater than his lust for blood. Here on the field of mortal combat, he was more than in his element. He was at the site of his heart's desire. It was the thing that had caused him to betray his oath of allegiance to the Emperor of Mankind, his genetic destiny as a space marine, and even his old comrades in the World Eaters Legion. He had never regretted those decisions, even for an instant. The bliss of battle was reward enough to stay any doubts. He jumped the ditch before the parapet, ignoring the poisoned spikes which lined the pit bottom and promised an ecstatic death to any that fell upon them. He scrambled up the loose scree of the rock face and vaulted over the low wall, planting his boot firmly into the face of a defender as he did so.
You know, can really see how as some of you guys mentioned before, how apparently KHARN has, due to service to KHARN, is in many ways is a shadow of his former self and is just focused on the killing. Although there are times in this that he puts in a level of thought that I did not think was quite possible, because I was expecting him to almost be like the just run screaming at the enemy kind of warriors, given how far gone some people had said he was.
The man screamed and fell back, trying to stem the flow of blood from his broken nose. KHARN swung Gorechild and ended his whining forever.
Death is upon you!
KHARN roared as he dived into a massive depraved cultists. Gorechild lashed out, its teeth bit into hardened ceramite, spraying sparks in all directions. The blow passed through the target's armor, opening its victim from stomach to sternum. The wretch fell back, clutching at his ropey entrails. KHARN dispatched him with a backhand swipe and fell upon his fellows, slaying right and left, killing with every blow. Frantically, the cultist leader bellowed orders, but it was too late. KHARN was among them, and no man had ever been able to boast of facing KHARN in close combat and living.
You know, with just the force of destruction that KHARN is once he gets within melee range, it is very much reminding me of that whole situation from Warhammer Fantasy with with Abhorrash and the people being able to tell that he was on the battlefield because there was a literal tornado of blood and limbs from just the devastation he wrought upon Empire forces when he arrived.
The numbers 2243, then 2244 blinked before his eyes. The ancient Gothic lettering of the digital death counter, superimposed on KHARN's field of vision, incremented quickly. KHARN was proud of this archaic device, presented by War Master Horus himself in ancient times. Its like could not be made in this degenerate age. KHARN grinned proudly as his tally of offerings for this campaign continued to rise. He still had a long way to go to match his personal best, but that was not going to stop him trying. Men screamed and howled as they died. KHARN roared with pleasure, killing everything within his reach, reveling in the crunch of bone and the spray of blood. The rest of the Khornate force took advantage of the destruction the betrayer had caused. They swarmed over the walls in a howling mass and dismembered the Slaanesh worshippers. Already
KHARN is definitely a force of destruction. Although, by the sounds of it, he's kind of carrying the assault, given that he's clearing the way. Well, actually, he is basically the vanguard at this point, clearing the way and allowing basically the rest of the force to actually get in and do their thing without being gunned down.
Demoralized by the death of their leader, not even these fanatical worshippers of the Lord of Pleasure could stand their ground. Their morale broken, they panicked and fled. Such pathetic oafs were barely worth the killing, KHARN decided, lashing out reflexively and killing those Slaanesh worshippers who passed too close to him as they fled. 2246, 2247, 2248 went the death counter. It was time to get on with his mission. It was time to find the thing he had come here to destroy. The ancient demonic artifact known as the Heart of Desire.
Attack!
KHARN bellowed and charged through the gaping mouth of the leering stone head that was the entrance to the main temple building.
You know, as a side note, I can't, with chaos cults, I know that a Nurgle cult's a problem because they're gonna end up spreading, disease. Is a Khornate cult is a problem, because, a bunch of bloodthirsty maniacs who want to kill everything. And a Tzeentch cult, well, our my glorious lord, or the changer of ways, is a single Tzeentch cultist who knows what he's doing can cause the downfall of an entire planet or even an entire sector, or depending on well how much luck the changer of ways decides to give him, and given that sometimes Tzeentch will scheme against his own servants. Fun. And how skilled the particular servant is. But Slaanesh cultists, aside from them causing, spreading debauchery, highly likely in the upper classes of society, and hedonism, I kind of wonder what they really what they really do as a threat outside of that. It's because it's the Nurgle cultists can be dangerous because of the disease they spread. Khornate cultists are a military threat. Tzeentch cultists can, if plans don't work up, use sorcery, but I don't really know what Slaanesh cultists do in a fight, if anything special.
Inside, it was quiet, as if the roar of battle could not penetrate the walls. The air stank of strange perfumes. The walls had a porous, fleshy look. The pink-tinged light was odd. It shimmered all around, coming from no discernible source. KHARN switched to the auto-sensor systems within his helm, just in case there was some trickery here. Leather-clad priestesses, their faces domino masked, emerged from padded doorways. They lashed at KHARN with whips that sent surges of pain and pleasure through his body. Another man, one less hardened than KHARN, might have been overwhelmed by the sensation. But KHARN had spent millennia in the service of his god, and what passed through him now was but a pale shadow compared to the battle lust that mastered him.
Yeah, the pain, like the pain and pleasure that would cause sensory overload in most likely normal people and even some machines, because if I remember correctly, the Dark Eldar's Agonizer works off the same principle. Yeah, the fact that his sheer bloodlust just allows him to ignore it. The uh those Slanesh cultists are screwed, and not in the fun way, I imagine.
He chopped through the snake-like flesh of the living lash. Poison blood spurted forth. The woman screamed as if he had cut her. Looking closer, he saw that she and the whip were one. A leering, demonic head tipped the weapon's handle and had buried its fangs into her wrist. KHARN's interest was sated. He killed the priestess with one backhanded swipe of Gorechild. A strange, strangled cry of rage and hate warned him of a new threat. He turned and saw that one of the other berserkers, less spiritually pure than himself, had been overcome by the whip's evil. The man had torn off his helmet, and his face was distorted by a sick and dreamy smile that had no place on the features of one chosen by KHARN. Like a sleepwalker, he advanced on KHARN and lashed out with his chainsword. KHARN laughed as he parried the blow and killed the man with his return stroke. A quick glance told him that all the priestesses were dead, and that most of his followers had slain their drugged brethren. Good, thought KHARN, but part of him was disappointed. He had hoped
Which it's the fact that KHARN hates Slanesh so much is is quite amusing, and I imagine it probably has, at least in some part, something to do with the fact that, well, Slanesh is Dark Prince of Pleasure and revels in excess. It's a case of, if you take as some people have explained it, if you take too much pleasure in the actual act of killing people, it's like, congratulations, you've gone from serving KHARN to serving Slanesh. And I imagine that KHARN is none too happy about potential, predation on his followers in that manner.
that more of his fellows would be overcome by treachery. It was good to measure himself against true warriors, not these decadent worshippers of an effete god. Gorechild howled with frustrated bloodlust, writhing in his hand as if it would turn on him if he did not feed it more blood and sinew soon. KHARN knew how the axe felt. He turned, gestured for his companions to follow him, and raced off down the corridor.
Follow me
He shouted,
to the slaughter!
Passing through a huge arch, the former Space Marines entered the inner sanctum of the temple, and KHARN knew that they had found what they had come for. Light poured in through the stained glass ceiling. As he watched, KHARN realized that the light was not coming through the glass, but from the glass itself. The illustrations glowed with an eerie internal light, and they moved. A riotous assembly of men and women, mutants and demons enacted every foul deed that the depraved followers of a debauched god could imagine.
Oh. So essentially a mural, well, not so much mural, but stained glass window that is there's just an Ode to all manner of perversion, then.
And KHARN noted that they could imagine quite a lot. KHARN raised his pistol and opened fire, but the glass merely absorbed the weapon's energy. Something like a faint moan of pleasure filled the chamber, and mocking laughter drew KHARN's attention to the throne which dominated the far end of the huge chamber.
Is this going to be a greater demon of Slaanesh that's going to show up? And considering that whole thing with considering the glass is glowing basically, and now that being shot with a plasma pistol, it hasn't broken. Yeah, I wonder if this is going to be one of those like weird demon artifacts, like that painting that Fulgrim's soul was stuck in at one point.
It was carved from a single gem that pulsed and changed color, going from amber to lavender to pink to lime and then back through a flickering random assortment of iridescent colors that made no sense and hurt the eye. KHARN knew without having to be told that this throne was the heart of desire. Senses honed by thousands of years of exposure to the stuff of chaos told him that the thing fairly radiated power. Inside was the trapped essence of a demon prince, held forever at the whim of Slaanesh as punishment for some ancient treachery.
Oh, so a captive Slaaneshi demon prince. Huh.
The man sitting so regally on the throne was merely a puppet, and barely worth KHARN's notice, save as something to be squashed like a bug. The man looked down on KHARN as if he had the temerity to feel the same way about Khorne's most devoted follower. His left hand stroked the hair of the leashed and naked woman who crouched like a pet at his feet. His right hand held an obscenely shaped rune sword, which glowed with a blasphemous light. KHARN strode forward to confront his new foe. The clatter of ceramite-encased feet on marble told him that his fellow berserkers followed. In a matter of 100 strides, KHARN found himself at the foot of the dais, and some odd, mystical force compelled him to stop and stare. KHARN did not doubt that he was face to face with the cult leader. The man had the foul, debauched look of an ancient and immortal devotee of Slaanesh. His face was pale and gaunt. Makeup concealed the dark shadows under his eyes. An obscene helmet covered the top of his head. As he stood, his pink and lime cloak billowed out behind him. Tight bands of studded leather armor girdled his naked chest, revealing lurid and disturbing tattoos.
"Welcome to the heart of desire,"
the Slaanesh worshipper said in a soft, insinuating voice, which...
By the way, something about how the guy was described, for some reason, made me think back to Sigvald from Warhammer Fantasy. For some reason. I don't know why.
somehow carried clearly across the chamber and compelled immediate respectful attention. KHARN was instantly on his guard, sensing the magic within that voice, the persuasive power which could twist mortals to its owner's will. He struggled to keep the fury that burned eternally in his breast from subsiding under the influence of those slyly enthralling tones.
Oh.
What do you wish?
Your death!
The betrayer roared.
I wonder how many Slaaneshi cult leaders have that kind of ability to kind of just enforce their will on people like that. Then, where only individuals who are capable of resisting, like say, KHARN, when he mentions the fury burning within him, can actually offer any sort of resistance.
Yet he felt his bloodlust being subdued by that oddly comforting voice. The cult leader sighed.
You worshippers of KHARN are so drearily predictable. Always the same tedious, unimaginable retort. I suppose it comes from following that monomaniacal deity of yours. Still, you are hardly to be blamed for your god's dullness, I suppose.
When KHARN has devoured your soul, you will pay for such blasphemy!
KHARN shouted. His followers shouted their approval, but with less enthusiasm than KHARN would have expected. For some reason, the man on the throne did not appear to be worried by the presence of so many armed men in his sanctum.
Somehow I doubt it, old chap. You see, My soul has long been pledged to thrice-blessed Slanesh. So unless Khorn wants to stick his talon down Slanesh's throat or some other orifice, he'll have a hard time getting at it.
Yeah, I have the fair impression that Khorn does not want to be anywhere near Slanesh because of just the way Slanesh is as an entity. Reminds me of that joke from TTS where Slanesh stole Khorn's chain axe and then just appeared to someone, gave someone the chain axe and told them, or was it a chain sword? It was some chain. Actually, I think it was a chain axe, and told them to shove it up their rear and rev it as hard as they could.
Enough of this prattle!
KHARN roared.
Death is upon you!
Oh, be sensible.
You know, given that mention of the guy's words being able to essentially be, hold sway over people, well, in a more literal sense of actually controlling them, which also actually kind of reminds me of that thing that Demiurge from Overlord has. That thing where, or if he gives someone a command, if they're below a certain level, they cannot disobey. They're forced to comply. I wonder how many of KHARN's, berserker brethren are potentially going to be subdued by that, causing a 1v1 between KHARN and this guy.
The cultist said, raising his hand. KHARN felt a tide of pleasure flow over him, like that he had felt from the whip earlier but 1,000 times stronger. All around him he heard his men moan and gasp.
Think! You can spend an eternity of pleasure being caressed by the power of Lord Slanesh, while your soul slowly rots and sinks into his comforting embrace. Anything you want, anything you have ever desired can be yours. All you have to do is swear allegiance to Slanesh.
I imagine, and both for obvious reasons, and also because of the whole thing of I don't really think there's much Slanesh can offer someone like KHARN, considering how deep he is, into the Khornate lifestyle. It's like, what do you give someone who the only thing they want to do is maim, kill, burn?
Believe me, it's no trouble. As the cult leader spoke, images flickered through KHARN's mind. He saw visions of his youth and all the joys he had known before the rebellion of Horus and the battle for Terra. Somehow it all looked so clear and fresh and appealing, and it almost brought moisture to his tear ducts. He saw endless banquets of food and wine. For a moment, his palate was stimulated by all manner of strange and wonderful tastes, and his brain tingled with a myriad of pleasures and stimulations. Visions of diaphanously clad maidens danced before his eyes, beckoning enticingly.
Oh, so some of this is also kind of bringing him back to the faculties that he had before he went full Khornate then, in order to more effectively tempt him. That is actually a pretty good way around, like the way a way of getting around how many of Khorn's followers have gone to the whole, they only care about killing thing. Well, potentially.
For a moment, despite himself, KHARN felt an almost unthinkable temptation to betray his ancient oath to the blood god. This was powerful sorcery indeed. He shook his head and bit his lip until the blood flowed.
No true warrior of Khorn would fall for this pitiful trick.
He bellowed.
All hail Slanesh!
One of his followers cried.
Praise to the great Lord of Pleasure!
Shouted another.
Let us grovel and adore him.
A third said, as the whole force cast themselves down onto their knees.
It's
Khan
working.
turned to look at his men, disbelief and outrage filling his mind. It seemed that they did not possess his iron-willed belief in Khorne's power, that they were prepared to betray him for a few tawdry promises of pleasure. In every face, in every posture, he saw slack-jawed worship of the posturing peacock on the throne. He knew that there was only one thing to be done under the circumstances. The Slaanesh leader obviously felt the same.
Kill him!
He cried,
Offer up his soul to Slaanesh, and unspeakable ecstasy shall be your reward.
The first of Khan's comrades raised his bolt pistol and squeezed the trigger. Khan threw himself to one side and the shell whipped past his head. The betrayer rewarded the traitor with a taste of Gorechild. The chain axe screeched as it bit through armor in a mighty sweep that clove him clean in two. The warrior gave a muted whine as his Slaanesh corrupted soul went straight to the warp.
You know, I had a feeling that was going to go like considering how those berserkers bent their will to Slaanesh, that even if they had not been ordered to kill KHARN, I have a feeling that KHARN still probably would have killed them anyway, for betraying Khorne.
Suddenly, the rest of the berserkers were upon him. Khan found himself fighting for his immortal life. These were no mere Slaanesh cultists. Newly tainted though they might be, they had once been worthy followers of Khorne. Fierce, deadly, and full of bloodlust. Mighty maces bludgeoned Khan. Huge chainswords threatened to tear his rune-encrusted armor. Bolter shells tore chunks from his chestplate. Khan fought on, undismayed, filled with the joy of battle, taking fierce pleasure every time Gorechild took another life. At last, these were worthy foes.
I kind of imagine him going full Doomslayer on them. But also, speaking of like the runes encrusted on his armor, that reminds me, isn't KHARN supposed to be immune, or at least near immune, to sorcery because of some runes that or some blessing that Khorne gave him? Does I remember correctly, doesn't Khorne also bless many of his followers with, well, since they themselves don't get sorcery the way Tzeentch, Nurgle, or Slaanesh may do, they instead get resistance to sorcery and other psychic influence.
The body count swiftly ticked on to 2460 and continued to rise. Instinctively, Khan sidestepped a blow that tore off one of the metal skulls which dangled from his belt. The betrayer swore he would replace it with the attacker's own skull. His return stroke made good his vow. He whirled Gorechild in a great figure of eight and cleared a space all around him, sending two more traitors to make their excuses to the blood god. Insane bloodlust surged through him, overcoming even the soporific influence of the heart of desire, and for a moment, Khan fought with his full, unfettered power. He became transformed into an unstoppable engine of destruction, and nothing could stand against him. Khan's heart pounded. The blood sang through his veins, and the desire to kill made him howl uncontrollably. Bones crunched beneath his axe. His pistol blew away the life of its targets. He stamped on the heads of the fallen, crushing them to jelly. Khan ignored pain, ignored any idea of self-preservation, and fought for the pure love of fighting. He killed, and he killed. All too soon it was over, and Khan stood alone in a circle of corpses. His breathing rasped from his chest. Blood seeped through a dozen small punctures in his armor. He felt like a rib might have been broken by that last blow of the mace, but he was triumphant. His counter read 2485. He sensed the presence of one more victim and turned to confront the figure on the dais.
Ah yes, the cult leader. Or one more to go.
The cultist leader stood looking down at him with a faint expression of mingled disbelief and distaste on his face. The naked girl had fled. The throne pulsed enticingly. "It's true what they say," the man said with a delicious sigh. "If you want anything done properly,
Gotta
You have
do
to do it yourself.
The insinuating voice drove Khan's fury from him and left him feeling tired and spent. The cultist strode down from the dais. Khan felt almost too weary to parry his blow. He knew he must throw off this enchantment quickly. The rune sword bit into his armor, and a wave of mingled pain and pleasure passed through Khan like poison. Summoning his last reserves of rage, he threw himself into the attack. He would show this effete fop who was the true warrior here. Khan hacked. Gorechild bit into the tattoos of the man's wrist. Gobbets of flesh and droplets of blood whirled away from the axe's teeth. The rank smell of hot bone filled the air as the hand separated from the arm and began to crawl away with a life of its own.
Wait a minute. Sever the guy's hand and it starts to crawl away on its... I wonder, is this guy perhaps, what do you call it? Is he perhaps possessed? Because I've heard of, well, I don't know if this can work for non-Space Marines, but I've heard of Chaos Space Marines who are possessed by demons and who are in control of themselves, and that during battle, is when the demon sort of comes out, so to speak.
Khan stamped on it, and a rictus of pain appeared on its owner's face, as if the hand was still attached. Khan swung. The cultist's head separated from its shoulders. The body swung its blade, a puppet still controlled by the strings of its master's will. It bit into Khan, and the wave of sensation almost drove him to his knees.
Wait, I wonder if this guy's body actually might be being puppeted by the captive demon prince of Slaanesh that was inside that gem.
Nice trick,
Roared Khan, feeling the hand squirm beneath his boot.
but I've seen it before.
He brought his chain axe down on the head and clove it in two. The body fell to the ground, a puppet with its strings cut. 2, 4, 8, 6, Khan thought, with some satisfaction.
Oh, so that's what it was. It's a case of you just have to destroy the head.
The betrayer advanced upon the throne. It pulsed enticingly before him. Within its multiple facets, he thought he saw the face of a beautiful woman, the most beautiful he had ever seen, and the most evil. Her hair was long and golden, and her eyes were blue. Her lips were full and red, and the small white fangs that protruded from her mouth in no way marred her perfection. She looked at Khan beseechingly, and he knew at once he was face to face with the demon trapped within the heart of desire. "Welcome, Khan," a seductive voice said within his head. "I knew you would triumph. I knew you would be the conqueror. I knew you would be my new master." The voice was thrilling.
Except I'm pretty sure that demon prince is not going to find a new master in KHARN, considering KHARN is Khornate and Khorn hates Slaanesh.
By comparison, the cult leader's voice had been but a pale echo, but the voice was also deceptive. Proud as he was, mighty as he knew himself to be, Khan knew that no man could truly be the master of a demon, not even a fallen space marine like himself. He knew that his soul was once more in peril, that he should do something. But yet again he found himself enthralled by the persuasiveness of a Slaanesh worshipper's voice. "Be seated. Become the new ruler of this world. Then go forth and blast those meddlesome interlopers from the face of your planet." Khan fought to hold himself steady while the throne pulsed hypnotically before him, and the smell of heavy musk filled his nostrils. He knew that once he sat he would be trapped, just as the demon was trapped. He would become a slave to the thing imprisoned within the throne. His will would be drained, and he would become a decadent and effete shadow of the Khan he had once been. Yet his limbs began to move almost of their own accord.
A shadow of a shadow of a person.
His feet slowly but surely carrying him towards the throne. Once more, visions of an eternity of corrupt pleasure danced in Khan's mind. Once more he saw himself indulging in every excess. The demon promised him every ecstasy imaginable, and it was well within its power to grant such pleasures. He knew it would be a simple thing for him to triumph on its behalf. All he had to do was step outside and announce that he had destroyed the heart of desire. He was KHARN. He would be believed, and after that it would be a simple matter to lure the KHARN worshippers to ecstatic servitude or joyful destruction. And would they not deserve it? Already he was known as the betrayer, when all he had done was be more loyal to his god than the spineless weaklings he had slaughtered. And with that, the demon's voice fell silent and the vision stopped, as if the thing in the throne realized its mistake but too late. For KHARN was loyal to KHARN, and there was only room for that one thing within his savage heart. He had betrayed and killed his comrades in the World Eaters because they had not remained true to KHARN's ideals and would have fled from the field of battle without either conquering or being destroyed. The reminder gave him strength.
Ah yes, no retreat, no surrender.
He turned and looked back at the room. The reek of blood and dismembered bodies filled his nostrils like perfume. He remembered the joy of the combat, the thrill of overcoming his former comrades. He looked out on a room filled with corpses and a floor carpeted with blood. He was the only living thing here, and he had made it so. He realized that, compared to this pleasure, this sense of conquest and victory, what the demon offered was only a pale shadow. KHARN turned and brought Gorechild smashing down upon the foul throne. His axe howled thirstily as it drank deep of the ancient and corrupt soul imprisoned within. Once more he felt the thrill of victory, and knew no regrets for rejecting the demon's offer. 2, 4, 8, 7. Life just doesn't get any better than this, KHARN thought.
Yep. What more can you give someone, one who all they desire is just to keep killing? And KHARN, as mentioned earlier, rewards you for killing things by making you better at killing things, so you can fulfill your desire to kill more things. But to be honest, I was actually kind of expecting him to when he struck the heart of desire, that would end up releasing the demon, and similar to what happened with I don't remember what it was exactly, but I remember hearing about some like obelisk or something, and by obelisk I don't mean a Necron obelisk, I mean obelisk in terms of just like the kind of structure, or some sort of monument that had a demon sealed inside it, and someone decided to smash it, and they just released the demon. But that was fun to listen to. Vox and the Void, it is great at narrating this stuff, and for anyone who isn't subscribed to them already, I highly recommend that they subscribe to him and listen to his stuff. It's really great. And if you enjoyed listening with me, I'd appreciate if you like, comment, and subscribe. But until next time, I hope you all have a wonderful night. Ta-ta!